Okay, hello guys. Welcome to day two of the learning series with me. I'm Manikandan Ganesh, and I am a data engineer working in Hyderabad, India. Today we are going to continue from where we left off yesterday, and it is going to be a little bit of a session with Python coding, and also to explore Airflow, which is the orchestration tool which we are learning. So we'll dive deeper into some of the concepts that Airflow has, and maybe we can quickly cover up topics like what are the uh, different kinds of items that Airflow has, and different kinds of imports and different kinds of libraries that we need to use to set up our first pipeline in Airflow. We'll do those things today, and I think those are the areas which are given in the tutorial section, which where we left off yesterday. So let's start now. So it's day two. Yeah, successfully carried out day two today, and hopefully I'll continue this for the next few weeks or few months, and let's see where it goes. Right. So yeah, let me open the Airflow official documentation. Okay, so yesterday we started with this page and we clicked on install Airflow. So to recap what we did yesterday, we installed Python 3.10. We also set up the virtual environment of Python. And using pip, we installed Airflow also. So the documentation is a little bit not clear on where to do these things, which we struggled yesterday. But finally, we overcame these hurdles and we were able to successfully install it. So this export Airflow home, we use this statement in our Z profile, or people can have bash profile or bash RC file. So we can do that. So let me quickly show you where we did this. It's in my home direct. I'm in my home directory right now. So let me see here. Let's use this money content. And if I wanted to see my Z profile, I'm using then Z profile. Yeah. So if you see here, this export Airflow home, this home slash Airflow, this tilde as the home symbol slash Airflow, and include it. So instead of tilde, I'm using users money content actual path. So that's the export Airflow home command that we are using. And before that, we also did uh, path export for Python 3.10. So and after that, once the one concept that everyone must know is these are environment variables, and when we have to use these environment variables, we need to set the variables and then we need to export. That's what I did here. So if you want to view what is there in Airflow home from outside this bin, you can do echo Airflow. You can see here, uses Manikata. This is the variable that I set here. So if I go to the bin, the value is uses Manikata value, something like this. After that, we struggled a lot to know how to install Airflow using constraints file. For that, I did a lot of mistakes. Like I used constraints.txt, created a constraints.txt file, included these commands, and then used ChatGPT to know how to install Airflow using constraints file. And then the ChatGPT, the guidance it gave us was not accurate. And then my instance told that I have to do it directly on the terminal, do these commands on the terminal. When I did a pip install, it worked. And after that, I had understood that these are environment variables I can set in my Z profile file. So that's what I did here. I'm setting environment file and then I did an export. Every environment variable, I did an export. And that's it. And then once we set it, and once you do a pip install from outside the Z profile file, since these are environment variables, these can be called using dollar. So dollar airflow will God I was able to successfully install using this command. And then when I entered an Airflow standalone, it initialized the database, created a user, and installed all the components. It did that, and then I was able to access the UI in this local host 8080, and yeah, so I could do that. One thing that I did not do is Airflow home, Airflow CFG file. I did not export this file, which I will do it right now. And I couldn't see the admin configuration mainly, so I couldn't do that. So yeah, so let me quickly uh, spin up the Airflow standalone. Uh, I'll do I'll run the Airflow standalone. So I'll use this command right now. So I think everyone is clear about what I included in the Z profile, how we installed it. So let me clear it to Airflow. Let me first, before that, I set up a virtual environment. I did install Airflow in my virtual environment. So let me activate the virtual environment now. So I v10 then activate. I did that. Now let me and oh no. Why is it? Why am I not getting it again? Go inside Airflow. We do this installation again. Installing now. It could also be very you this. Oh, it's working. I don't know why it wasn't working, but did I install it in my virtual environment? Not sure. It's working now. Or should I go now? So it's listening at localhost 80. I copy this and let me go to the okay. So admin here and password here. It's fine. Okay. All right. So yeah, we saw this screen yesterday, and we I don't know why if I have to install it again and then use a Airflow standalone command to spin up the Airflow effort to tool in the local host web server. So I'm not sure why I have to do a pip install again. Maybe tomorrow we can try that, and or maybe we can try it right away. I'm gonna kill this control C in my Mac machine. So may exit this and let me deactivate my virtual machine. Deactivate it. It's not on here. So let me activate my virtual machine or virtual environment by now it's working fine. Okay. It's listening in this. It's directly installed. But since I did a sign in already, I did not sign up. When I access the web server local host, I was able to. It's listening in port 8080, so I'm able to log in directly and see the screen. So one more thing that we covered yesterday is how to create a new user for Airflow in Airflow. So I did that by using. I couldn't run these commands also. That is one more thing that I mistested. I was not sure what these commands are, and should we do it right? Should we file or is throwing an error? We have to check it out. Me try this in my new tab again. Let me see whether I can run these commands. I could. My God. Okay. Wow. I could run these. This marking task as success. Okay. Says run your first task instance. It says Airflow, which is the keyword for Airflow, and it's saying tasks. I don't know what tasks are, and then it is saying test. An example bash operator, run me underscore zero, and this date it is giving. I'm not sure what this commands does, but I just know that they are just uh, commands on my terminal that I have to run. So if I run this also, am I able to run it? Yeah, I could sequential execute. Let's see what the logs says. Filling in the DAG bag from import DAGs. Could not import DAGs in example Kubernetes executor. No modeling Kubernetes. Warning instead of Kubernetes you can say like Apache Airflow. Virtual environment by virtual Python. Virtual is virtual environment. I think. Example it was virtually will be please install it. Really for example driver consumption, please install it. Almost always not to consider. This is all good for me. Is this real? I mean, warning, could not import pandas. All days will not be considered. Is it some joke that they are doing? Not sure. Okay, so all right, so I think is executing something. Not sure what this is. Let us see what is changing. Okay, it's changing here. Example bash operator is the one. Go inside. Total running two. Programs display three. We'll check the graph. A main bash operator. Zoom in. Yes, success, 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 skills, success, success. Is that it? Stuff. Okay. So these are, I think these are tasks. The ones marked in the boxes are tasks, I think. And when I did this Airflow DAGs backfill example bash operator, that's the, what is example bash operator? What is it called? It's called DAGs. Example bash operator is a DAG. DAG is, what is a DAG in Airflow? It's a directed acyclic graph is a data pipeline defined in Python code. Each DAG represents a collection of tasks you want to run and one ways to show relationship between tasks with the Airflow UI. Alright, I think I'm right. So example bash operator is a DAG. It's here. It's like a name of a job. Instead of a job, you have the name as DAGs. That's what I can correlate and understand. It's like a job. It's like the name of a job. It's and we in Airflow terminology we call it a DAG, which is a directed acyclic graph, because it looks like a graph. All the tasks looks like a graph. It's a dependency graph. So in the DAG we have different tasks. So run me two, run me one, run me zero. This will skip, run after loop, also run this last. All these are tasks which are defined within a DAG, and it will run when we do something called Airflow DAGs backfill. We are doing a backfill. Backfill is an operation, I think. Run a backfill for over 2 days. Run your first task instance. And all this, or I think the first command that I'm seeing here, it runs a specific task, I think. So run me zero, as you can see here, run me zero is a task within example bash operator DAG. And this will run the run me zero from this date. And it's a test run, I think. And here the second command will do the complete run of the DAG, which will run all the tasks within this DAG, which is example bash operator, from the start date till the end date. So that's what I am seeing here. That's how I understand this. So yeah, we are able to successfully run this. And let's see how we can create a user now going forward. So let's do an Airflow DB migrate now. Airflow DB migrate. The database migration is done. I'm always seeing this Kubernetes module not found error. I think I have to install Kubernetes. I'll be able to do that as I make progress in this in this learning session. Let me create a user. Airflow users create. Username, let me call the username as money again. Yesterday we created this, but I'm not sure why. First name is Peter. Oh my god. Let me do this. Okay, cannot create. Let me. I just did a gibberish command to cancel it. Let me create a username as money. Let me create the first name as my actual name, just money Kandan. Let me create my last name as Danish. I'm an admin. Let me type in my actual email ID. Give a password for this. Give a password. already exists in the DB. Okay. We spend on this. It's already running. Okay, let me try to money is already created and I have it. Let me run this command called schedule over here. It's running something. Unconnected. It's not able to connect to the ports. Is it running something? It's not running anything. Okay. We will see what this scheduler. We'll see what I think Airflow standalone, nothing but it spins up the web server in the localhost port 80. I think that's the it's an alternate command to run it, I think. So we'll see. Okay, let's start the actual session today and let's see what we have in the tutorial section. So in tutorials, we have once you have Airflow up and running with quick start, these tutorials are a great way to get a sense of how Airflow works. Okay, so we can try to understand the fundamental concepts first. I think that's a great way to know things in Airflow. So let me begin with the fundamental concepts. So this tutorial walks you through some of the fundamental Airflow concepts, objects, and their usage while writing your first DAG. Okay. Example pipeline definition. Here is an example of a basic pipeline definition. Do not worry if this looks complicated. A line by line explanation follows. Okay, good. So we have the pipeline explanation here. So Airflow example dash tutorial.py. So let me open a Visual Studio Code, which is the IDE that I'm using, and I like it. And I use both PyCharm and VS Code, but I like VS Code more because it has a user-friendly environment, and we can share different things on VS Code. We can install GitHub Copilot. We can do a lot of things, and we can also share the code and have a shared session where other developer can take control of your code. They can modify in your repository in your local machine and then save it, and then we can uh, collaborate in that way. So all those things we can do using VS Code. So I'm using VS Code now. So let me open uh, a folder. Let me open Airflow. Let me open this. So we have Airflow here, and do we have something called example dot tags? We don't have it. But before that, I also wanted you guys to show the airflow.cmd file. What is there? Okay. Tags folder is this. Let me see whether I have it. I don't have it. We have at least this. We don't have it. Okay. I think we need to create this tutorial.py file in a repository. Once we have it, uh, we can create all these code for us. So let us first go through this tutorial.py file. That is a Python file. This is a Python code. And let's see what one by one, one line by line we'll explore, and we'll see how what the explanation the for documentation gives us, and we'll go through one by one. So it's going to be a fun thing. This is something a little bit diving deeper into this topic, and we saw in the UI DAGs, we saw in the UI tasks. How do we create it using Python? And that's what will be explained here in this Python files, I think. So let's see. So first, they are importing some datetime and time data. These are timestamp inputs, and I don't know what dident is. So we'll see it later. So from Airflow, if you have installed Airflow, so from Airflow we can import libraries from Airflow, and they are importing something called DAG, which is if you want to create this DAG, you have to use this import command. So from Airflow import DAG. So in Python, the code something looks like this. Like first import commands will be there, and then next whatever we are giving. Let's say if you want to create a class, if you want to create a method, all these components in Python will be coming after the import commands. So normally developers use this way of coding for making it very clean and making it very understandable for others who are using the code base. So that's my experience so far learning Python and using Python. So here in this first, all these import commands are there. So everything is an import command from Airflow. So Airflow is a library which they're importing something called DAG from Airflow, which is again a library from called DAG, and then they're using bash operator. So what explanation they're giving is the DAG object. So DAG is the I think it's a library inside Airflow, and when you create a DAG object, an object in Python is it's a representation of a class, and if you want to access different methods, we have to create an object for the class. So that's people who are listening, watching this video should have a basic understanding of coding, so that I don't need to explain everything. But if you guys have any doubts, probably leave it in the comment section so that I'll be able to guide you through how to learn coding and how to learn what terminology like a class, a method, and objects and all those. So I can guide you through. If you leave it in the comment section, I can guide you through different things and different areas where you can learn and become like have a speed learning in coding, and then directly dive into this using this Airflow. So they are saying that DAG object, we will need this to instantiate a DAG. Instantiate a DAG meaning when you wanted to access a class and when you want to access methods of a class, we need to create an object. If you want to initialize a class, you need to initialize the class using an object. So you have to create a class object to initialize it. We'll need this to initialize a DAG, instantiate a DAG. A DAG is this, and if you want to instantiate this, if you want to start this, you need to create import this DAG object. Operators, we need this to operate. So operators meaning so here if you see the bash example bash operator, where is that gone? Okay, example bash operator. So you have the UI, the graph, you have different tasks, and everything is every task is bash operated internally in Python, I think. And if you wanted to create dependencies between different tasks, you can achieve it using the bash operator. I think, I'm not sure. Let us dive in and check this. So we are creating with DAG. They are initializing this DAG object now, which is imported from here. So you can use this the code. So with DAG, and it's called tutorial. I think it's the name of the DAG. I think these args will be passed on to each operator. You can override them on per task basis during operator initialization. Okay. So DAG has DAG object has different arguments. I think first argument is a tutorial which they're giving. I think it's the name of the DAG, and then they are giving default args. Default args is the one of the other argument that DAG object has, and they are giving depends on past, false, email on failure, email on retry delay. Okay, so I think it's a data orchestration tool. That's what Airflow is. So if you wanted to have a particular DAG failed, let's say if I'm running this example bash operator, and if I'm turning it on, and if it fails, I have to notify someone who's responsible for who has created the DAG. I have to notify the person. So we can do it using email on failure and email on retry, and the email address is given here. I don't know what depends on pastors. Let's see it. I think they'll be explaining it also. Retries. So when it fails the first time due to some condition, it has to retry again to run it again. So that is retries. Retry delay is how much time it takes to wait till it retries. The next time is 5 minutes, I think. So this time delta minutes is equal to 5 is a Python command that will add additional 5 minutes to the existing time. And they have a list of other arguments in the inside the default args, and they have commented it out. They are not using it. These things they will not be using it. Only the top 6 will be used, and they have something called queue, tool, priority wait, end date, wait for downstream, and these are all like different arguments which we will see as we start using it in a much more frequent way. And in the following days, we'll be doing it. So description, a simple tutorial DAG. Okay, it's a description of the DAG, I think. So is the description given here? No, we don't have a description here. If we go in, is there a description for this DAG? No, we don't have, I think. Okay. I think this is the DAG name is tutorial. Do we have something called tutorial here? Yeah, we do have. Okay. A simple tutorial DAG. This is the description, I think. So you see here a simple tutorial DAG. If you give the description here in this Python file, it'll be displayed here, a simple tutorial DAG. And the name of the DAG is tutorial. And you have the tutorial here. This is displayed in the UI. And all this information is given here. Start date is a datetime object. It starts with a 2021 1 that's a year. Schedule is every day. It's time delta days is equal to 1. That's every day it runs. It's a batch job. Catch up is equal to false and tags is equal to example. Not sure what these are. Tags is equal to example. I think tags is something like this. This is the one I think. So if you see the tags here, you see example here. This is the tag that they're giving to the tag. So tag and tag, it sounds similar, but it's different. Tag is something which people generally use to monitor the cost. When you tag it in a specific name, all the services which are running under that tag, the cost will be computed. And that's the whole purpose of adding a tag. This I learned in my job and while spinning up services in AWS. I think similarly in Airflow also we can do that using by assigning a tag. So here they have given it as an example. And okay, so that's it. So you start the tag, you initialize them, close the bracket, and then you are naming it as DAG. You're having the name as DAG. And then once you have that DAG initialized with using a with command, so you have a colon here, and then you start writing what is underneath, what are those things underneath the DAG. So T1, T1, T2, T3 are example of tasks created by instantiating operators. T1 is equal to bash operator, task ID is equal to print date, bash command is equal to date. So T1 is task is a bash operator. They are using they are instantiating a bash operator. So we have imported the bash operator here from Airflow operators.bash import bash operator. We have imported the bash operator here. And then in the bash operator, we are there using a task ID and bash command. So that's T1, task one. So let me check is there in print date. Okay, we have something called print date. That's what we have given the task ID is. So if you give the task ID, the ID will be displayed here in the task within the DAG. So this is one task, and bash command is equal to date. It's showing as date. Coming next is T2 is equal to bash operator. Task ID is sleep. What is that task 2? It's a sleep. So if you see here, this task is called sleep, and it's also a bash operator. It depends on past. It's false. Bash command is equal to sleep 5. It sleeps for 5 seconds. I think sleep 5 is a Linux command. I think that sleeps for 5 seconds. And retries is equal to 3. Not sure what this retries is. Let's dive deeper into T1. T1.docmd. I think MD is a markdown as far as I know. Doc_MD. Didn't. Task didn't is, I think we imported didn't here. I told you guys that I don't know about what didn't is. The text wrap. Okay, so didn't of this text wrap. So triple quotes will write like a comment, and you close the triple quotes here. Inside the triple quotes are comments. It's a markdown language. I think all the 4 hashes are documentation, or it's a markdown language. So if we click on this, is the markdown displayed? Details. Can I scroll this up? Can I be able to take this scroll up, or not able to? Okay, I can do this here. Okay. So you see here, whatever code that is written here is displayed here. You have a nice code tab that is displayed here. So we are in this right now, t1.org empty of d, and we are in this state. You can document your task using the attributes drop down. Okay. Okay. All right. So let's do it here itself. Let's see it here. Docmd is equal to docmd is equal to doc underscore. It's a markdown doc string, I think. Doc underscore md. This is the documentation. Okay. So here in for DAG, for example, bash operator, or the DAG name tutorial we are seeing here, because we have the DAG name as tutorial, and we have created an alias name for DAG as DAG. And this DAG, this tutorial DAG, has a document called this documentation placed anywhere. So you see here in the graph, or you see in the DAG window, you see here that DAG docs, this documentation is placed anywhere. So that's what we have written here. So this we are defining here in the code, and that is displayed here in the, underneath the DAG docs. So I wanted to see where this T1 docmd is placed. I wanted to see that, but I'm not sure where it is. You can document your task that it is using document markers. Hmm. Okay, we don't have it. Let's not spend more time on that. Let's go forward. Templated command. So templated command is it's a Jinja templating, I think. This is a Jinja templating that they are using. What they have written inside the didn't is again text wrap. So inside text tab, they have opened a triple quote, which is like a comment, and they have closed it. And inside that, they have used a Jinja templating to write this. What they have written is from 0 to 4. On the counter 0 to 4. The range 5 is 0 to 4. Echo is like print this within brackets ds. Then echo macros.ds add of ds7. So it's a Jinja template. So I'm not well versed with Jinja templating, but I think this is a Unix Linux command that before it's a shell script that they've written in Jinja templating, I think. So that's it. So and then they define a task called T3. Bash operator task ID templated depends on task ID is templated. So if you see here in the graph, we have something called templated here, which is another task. And it depends on pass is equal to false, bash command is equal to templated command. And then they are using T1 greater than within a list, they have T2 comma T3. So I think this is a dependency. T1 has to run first, and then T2, T3 can run in parallel, I think. So let's see what explanation they have given. Wanting to wrap your head around, it may not be very intuitive as far as this for Python script is really just a configuration file specifying DAG structure as a code. Okay, so we have opened a DAG, we have instance DAG. Within the DAG, we have given the structure of different tasks. So it's just a DAG structure in the code. The actual task defined here will run in a different context from the context of the script. Different tasks run on different workers at different points in time, which means that this script cannot be used to cross communicate between tasks. Know that for this purpose, we have more advanced feature called XCOMs. Okay, so we have a DAG here, and then you have a task here. And if you want to communicate between different DAGs or different tasks, you can use XCOMs, I think. So people sometimes think of the DAG definition as a file as a place where they can do some actual data processing. This is not the case at all. So this is not a data processing Python code. Data processing can be different. Like you can use Python pandas, or you can use PySpark or Spark to process the data. But this is just a code to orchestrate. This is just a code to orchestrate and do what is how to uh, create a workflow and then run the workflow. That's all this does. This does not do any data processing. Script's purpose to define a tag object. It needs to evaluate quickly, seconds and minutes, since the scheduler will be periodically to change the name. Importing modules. So like I said, we are importing these modules. And then let's say default arguments. We are about to create a doc and some tasks, and we have the choice to explicitly pass a set of arguments to each task's constructor. So constructor is nothing but when you are creating a DAG, like we have imported a DAG and then we are instantiating this DAG object. Constructors are nothing but inside the DAG object, it will be something like this. Let me write a Python code quickly. Just what we want. So in Python, you can define a class as something like this. Class, let's say DAG. Calling it like this. Inside DAG, you have something called constructor here. Inside constructor, let's say we have name, comma, default args, and then we do something inside the constructor. So this default also, this is how the DAG looks like in an Airflow DAG. And inside DAG, you are giving the first value as name. So this is the inside constructor, we are giving name, and then we are giving the default args. So this is the, like, if you don't know coding, you won't be able to quickly understand these what is a constructor, how to initialize a class, and all that, all those operations you won't be able to understand. So at least you need to have some basic understanding of programming language and how inheritance, how classes, how methods can be defined, how static methods can be defined, all this information you need to understand all these concepts. So yeah. So these are the default arguments we have on the DAG instantiation. Let's say, so you can give the default arguments in terms of a dictionary, and you have a key value pair, and the name of the argument is default underscore args. So it sits within the DAG class, and within the DAG, when you are instantiating a DAG class and when you're having the constructor, we are giving these default tags as part of the tag constructor and as an argument within the constructor. So we have these arguments. So for more information about the bash operators parameters and what they do, please do refer the Airflow models bash operator base operator documentation. So let us review that once. Things we need that information about detailed information about how to handle it. So we have this here. So we have the data here. So task ID. So parameters are task ID, a unique, meaningful ID for the task. So here you have uh, inside that bash operator, you have something called task ID. Okay, so I think these are bash operators. I think these are bash operators documentation. If I want to know about DAG documentation, how do I know it? Like all these. Is it there here? Let's check that out. Class native. We don't have it here, so let's not waste more time in this. Let's get to the chaser. Like let's do it later. We'll review this all these parameters. Like you use these task ID depends and bash commands. These bash operators parameters. We'll review it later. We have in the next class maybe or maybe later today we can review it in the same session. So instantiate DAG. We need a DAG object, and we have this and an operator. An operator defines a unit of workflow to compute. Using operators is the classic approach to defining work in Apple. For some use cases, it's better to use the TaskFlow API to define work in a Pythonic context as described in working with TaskFlow. For now, using operators help to visualize task dependencies in a DAG code. All operators inherit from the base operator, bash base operator, which includes all of the required. So for running Airflow, from here, each operator includes unique variables for the type of operator computing. Some of the most popular operators are Python operator, bash operator, and Kubernetes pod operator. Airflow completes work based on arguments we pass to operators. In this tutorial, we use the bash operator to run the few bash scripts. Okay. So let's see how do we use task. We use an operator in a DAG. You have to instantiate it as a task. Task resume how to execute operators work within a context of a DAG. The following example, we instantiate the bash operator as two separate tasks in order to run two bash separate bash scripts. The first argument for each task ID. Okay. So we are defining a task. So two different tasks we are defining, and each one is a bash operator. This is within the context of a DAG. These T1 and T2 are within the context of a DAG, meaning we are writing these things within a DAG after instantiating a DAG, and within the DAG we are writing it, and we are using a two bash operator. Now notice how we pass a mix of operator specific arguments. One is bash command. This is bash command, and an argument common to all operators, which is retries inherited from the base operator. Okay, so I think in Airflow, uh, it's be defined like this bash operator is inherited from a base operator. All operators inherit from the base operator. So there'll be a base class called base operator, and this bash operator is an inheritance of the base operator. That means if an argument called retries is common for all operators, we will have it defined in the base class, which is here in this base operator class, and then all the child classes, which is bash operator, will can also have this retrace as a command. This is simpler. That's the explanation that they are given. This is internal how the code is written in Airflow. So how operators are written in Airflow. That's what they have given. This is simpler than passing every argument for every constructor call. Also notice that in the second task, we override the retrace parameter with 3. The precedence rules for a task are as follows. Explicitly passed arguments, values that exist in the default args dictionary, the operator's default value if one exists. Okay, I think the operator will have a default value. Retrace will have a default value, I think, in Airflow. So a task must include or invalid the argument's task ID owner, otherwise Airflow will raise an exception. So we have to mandatory that we have to give task ID and task ID here, and we have to do that. And templating with Ginger. So, like I said, we have something called Ginger templating, which is used here in the document, which is this. So they are given an explanation for templating with Ginger also. Airflow regulates the power of Ginger templating and provides the pipeline author with a set of built-in parameters and macros. Airflow also provides hooks for the pipeline author to define their own parameters, macros, and templates. This tutorial barely scratches the surface of what you can do with templating in Airflow, but the goal of the section is to let you know that feature exists, get you familiar with double curly brackets, and point to the most common template variable, DS, which is date stamp. I think DS is called date stamp. They're using Ninja templating opens and with double brackets and macros.ds add ds comma 7. I think ds add is 7 seconds. I think 7 seconds or 7 minutes. I'm not sure. Something similar to heat time delta. It is, I think that's what we have done here. So the logic, Ginger templating logic is present within percentage reference parameters like this and calls a function not of this. Filters can also be passed to the bash r command. Okay. Arguments like bash command where the file location is laid to the directory containing the pipeline. I think bash command we can give a file dot a shell script file that will have it. And this may be reserved for many reasons, like separating a scripts logic and pipeline code, allowing for proper code. Okay, we can do that, I think. Uh, User event backers on the technical bar is able to templates. Now we are specifying user defined filters or else we could register your own filters. Okay, we can use filters and we can do all that is what given here. So adding DAG and tasks documentation. So that's what doc.md we are adding here. So we can add, it says that we can add documentation. It can, right now DAG documentation supports Markdown only. We can add the documentation in Markdown file only. But the task documentation supports plain text, Markdown, and YAML, JSON, and all that. So yeah, we have that. So here, documentation they have given here. So I wanted to see where the task documentation is. Like I said before, we have something document for task. So t1.docmd we have. So where is this present? Can we see it somewhere? I'm just checking where I can find the task documentation. Check online. Let's run this and then see it. Let us run the DAG and then see it. Show where it is. And like that's not clear here, like where we can solve. It's not clear. Okay. Documentation is done. Setting up dependencies. Okay. This is the main topic here. So sorry for the delay. Like I've been searching here what the task documentation is. I couldn't find it. But let's go to the main topic: how to set up dependencies, which is very crucial for any orchestration, data orchestration tool. How to set up different dependencies between different tasks. So we have T1, T2, and T3. So we have created that in the tutorial.py file. And within the tag, we have written the task, and each task is a bash operator. So see, we have tasks T1, T2, T3 do not depend on each other. Here are a few ways you can define dependencies. If you create a task, that does not meaning like it will create a dependency. You have to define the dependency for each task. So we have something called set downstream, set upstream, or T1 is greater than T2. So all these things are the same. So T1 dot set downstream T2 is after T1, you have to execute T2. See T2 dot set upstream, just similar to set downstream, same thing. But here we are defining T2. After T1, we have to perform T2. The T2 start after performing T1. Or T1 greater than, it's a bit shift operator, T2. So here T1 is will be performed, and after that T2 will be executed. So, or T2 less than T1. This is T2 will be executed after T1 is performed. So these are the dependencies we can create. If we can also create a multiple chaining dependencies, which is T1 should function first, it should process first, then the task T2 should process next, and then T3 should come the last. So that's the dependency here. We can also create dependencies where two tasks can run in parallel, which is something like T1 dot set downstream of T2, T3. After T1 finishes, we have to set the downstream to process both T2, T3 in parallel. Or we can use this bit shift operator, or we can define it like this also. It performs the same. Here in our tutorial, we have something called T1, which is print date as a task. And after that, sleep and temp. Once this is success, once we have it processed successfully, T2 and T3 will start. If this fails, sleep and temperature will not process. So that's the concept here. I think that's a concept. Not sure whether how when it fails, what happens. I'm not sure. Let's check that. So know that when executing it, I've script app will raise exception when cycle is in a DAG allowing the dependency reference more than once. Okay. Creating a time zone where DAG is quite simple. Just make sure time zone are pendulum. Don't try to stand time zone. Okay. So that's the recap that they have given. So how to run the script? So testing the APM. We have created a tutorial.py Python file. It's a script. It's an Airflow script that we have created. So how to run it? So to run it, we have to test it before running it. So type to run some tests. First, let's make sure the piping is passed successfully. Let's assume we are saving the code from the previous step in tutorial.py in the DAGs folder, reference name airflow.cfg. So, okay, it's there in DAGs folder. Let's see where it is. So we have something called airflow.cfg. So we have something called DAGs here, but I don't have the DAGs folder. Am I pointing to the right? on the content, and we have something called Airflow here. Okay, let's search online. Able to find tags. um, See, Airflow folder is somewhere else. It is a total. I'm just checking where I can find this DAGs folder and where I can find uh, a tutorial.py file. It should be there. It's because in the UI you see DAGs here, right? So you see a list of DAGs here, and that should be there somewhere. Open ChatGPT. Let's see whether it can help me. Okay, find this. Let me use this shell command to find this. Yes, the installation there. Since I installed the Airflow in a virtual machine, so the Airflow is installed not in the home directory, but rather in the virtual machine site packages. So it's there in this directory, the tutorial.py. So let me open the Visual Studio Code and let me open this here, item folder. Like you see here, like whatever code that we saw in the official documentation, the tutorial.py file is present here in this directory. So I can see the code here. And yeah, so is there a CFG file here? Let me open Airflow directly instead of opening this. Let me open, I close this and open Airflow so that I can see the CFG file also, the correct installation file of the CFG. Okay, I'm struggling here because I'm not able to find airflow.cfg in the place where I installed. But this DAGs folder is present. It's not present in my home Airflow DAGs. but I can see the tutorial.py present in the place where it is installed in the site packages within the Python virtual environment. So not sure how to understand this. It's installed there in the virtual environment, and then I have the DAGs file, example underscore DAGs file there where I find this tutorial.py. So here it is. I think this is referencing that the web servers running from there, and it is pointing to that Airflow where it's installed, and then I'm having the this localhost spin-up is done from there where I install the site packages inside the virtual environment only. That's why I see a lot of DAGs here. Each DAG I can see here in the example DAGs. So yeah, so I mean, I'm not sure how to find the CFG file is present in my home folder, but I don't find the DAGs folder inside my CFG file. So not sure what that is. So let's do one more experiment here. Let's create our own tutorial.py file. Rename it to tutorial.py tutorial underscore give my name like money and py, and let's see whether does it create any tags here. So let's open a new window in VS Code, and let's open Airflow from the home directory. So here it is saying that Airflow slash DAGs is the folder for DAGs. So let's create a new folder called DAGs here. And then let's create a new file called tutorial underscore money.py. And then let's go to this code here. Let's copy this. Paste it here. And then let's see whether it's running now. Let's see whether did we create any tutorial underscore money as a DAG. It's a tag name. Give it as tutorial underscore money. Doing FODB migrate. Yeah, we have tutorial underscore money here. So I think default ones are stored in the Python package, and we have it here. So see here, we have created it. So it's present within, we can create our own tags within the home directory of Airflow. And then once when we do tutorial Airflow DB migrate, it creates the DAG, and then creates different tasks and everything. So bingo, yeah, we have it. We can test individual tasks in Airflow tasks test command. And yeah, so what is a backfill? That is also an important topic. So everything looks like it's running fine. So let's run a backfill. Backfill will respect your dependencies, emit logs into files, and talk to the database to record status. If you do have a web server setup, you'll be able to track the progress for web server. We'll start a web server if you're interested in tracking the progress visually as your backfill progresses. Know that if use depends on past is equal to true. What does it depends on past equal to true? Individual task instances will depend on the success of the previous task instance. This previous according to the logical date. Okay, so let's say we are running a task on 28th January, and if you're running the same task on 29th January, and if you're setting the depends on past is equal to true, so the task which is running on 29th of January will run only when the same task was success on 28th of January. I think that's my understanding here. You may also want to consider wait for downstream is equal to true when using depends on past equal to true. Okay, while depends on past equal to process of task instant depends on the success of its previous task instance. Wait for downstream is equal to task instant to wait for all the task instances will immediately downstream of the base task. Okay, wait for downstream is nothing but it will wait once the previous task. Let's say we have task T1 and T2. T2 will should run only when T1 is successful. So that is wait for downstream, I think. Depends on pass is equal to true is we have task T1 and T2 running on 28. We have the same tasks T1 and T2 running on 29. So 29th task of T2 will run only when 28th task T1 is T2 is successful. So I think that's my understanding. The date range is context start date and optionally end date, which are used to populate the run scheduling task instances. Backfill is nothing but it successfully run all the tasks with those dates. And let's say in a data engineering pipeline, you have a job running on 28 and 28 tasks, the job fails. Let's say we have 3 tasks, one of the tasks fails. And other tasks have dependency on this task, and all of them are failing. And let's say we don't have anyone monitoring, and we have someone on a leave. I think, like let's say if an employee is taking a vacation and they didn't resume the job, they didn't fix the issue, resume the job on the same day. The next day you have to run the same job, right? So in that cases, we have to carefully set up our pipeline in a way that it depends on past flag should be true, so that we can backfill on 28th day's data and then run 29th also. Like I said in the example, 20th and 29th just imaginary timelines. So yeah, so that's the role of a backfill. Okay, so we have come to the end of uh, first Airflow pipeline. Merging your code into a repository that has scheduler running against it should result in being triggered on vanilla days. Okay. So tomorrow we will do working with task flow. We'll do that, and we'll also go to the core concept section. We can also try creating a pipeline, like a test pipeline we can do, and then create an Airflow task, like a real data engineering pipeline. So I'll try to come up with some ideas on how to create a data engineering pipeline, maybe tomorrow or maybe in sometime this week. And then we can create it so that we can see how it runs in my local machine, and then we'll do that. Okay. So that's it for today, and I hope you guys got some learning today along with me. So take care and happy learning. Cheers. Bye.